So I'll be talking about Original Pain from John Bradshaw. You can find him on YouTube. He's excellent. So when we didn't get our developmental needs met, it's like an adult child. We didn't get to develop, right, from child to adulthood. And infancy needs are everything from trust, touch. The toddler is to say no. The child is often manipulated by anger and doesn't know how to resolve the conflict. Therefore, adult children can't meet their own children's needs. So having our reality denied, feeling uncomfortable or icky, being threatened, physically punished, or feeling like the privacy or the embarrassment is disrespected, like embarrassed is bare ass, like just feeling exposed in a too private of a way, we can start to see that abuse is training for an addiction. Power, control, shame and secrecy, fear, distrust, distance, the numbing of emotions, which is all a basis for unhealthy relationships and begins to confuse it with love. Emotions are primal though, so what develops before the thinking brain is how we end up with these programs to repress emotion. We have emotional dis-ease. Emotion is energy in motion. It moves us to, whether it's anger to flight, fear to flight, sadness to tears, joy to celebrate, shame to limits, even if it's blushing, right? Weeping is not crying. Tears discharge pain, and healthy shame is a modest, humble, virtuous, moral, conscious element. And thinking comes from feeling. There's like this visceral brain, and then it goes into the emotional brain, and then it goes into the thinking brain. So we have what John Bradshaw calls the tripartite brain. So body to feeling to thinking, where we allow ourselves, for example, to tremble, release, and feel is how to move past, because thinking doesn't heal what caused it. Like if you start thinking, you won't move into emotion and into visceral. From the visceral, you could move into, like, from your action, from your behavior, you could actually move into your emotion, and that affects your thoughts. So more helpless one is, or was, the more effects of imprints we internalize. For example, the worst or the scariest, and we need to recreate or reenact what's called governing scenes that develop from a bunch of linked imprints. And not to get it wrong that if our thoughts are affecting our feelings and our experience and our behavior, but our behaviors, the visceral experience, and then the emotions, and then the thoughts that we're conscious of is like a different way of saying thoughts, like thoughts in motion, energy in motion. In other words, once we catch up with ourselves, we can kind of get a handle on it. But we have to go through the original pain. So he says, a quote, "Your body will present its bill." The body carries the pain, and we can stay in the head because that's where we survived, ignoring the sadness and rage, always trying to figure it out, trying to do what worked, getting into the movie in the middle without knowing the plot. But it isn't predictable. There was like 5 mothers, 5 fathers. It's scary. If we don't grieve and work it out, we'll act it out and act it in. Doing to ourselves what was done to us. Now, you see here, we'll act it out, then affects our feelings, then affects our thoughts. But if we grieve, we can go through the experience of grieving, the visceral experience, which will affect our emotions, which will affect our thoughts. So it's like bottom-up approach either way will allow for a top-down approach. So new rules are that it's okay to make mistakes, have permission to be human, versus the shame-based, like hunter is coming, they'll find out you're really flawed and defective, and it causes hypervigilance, that we're easily startled, reactive, and we shut the doors of the head and the body, connection. And then we're in the head all the time, like ignoring the depression, the rage. And ego defenses, like for avoidance, addiction, codependency, is all about denial and delusion. So in our journey to wholeness, we therefore have 1, the action, which is change our behavior. 2, the feeling work. We have to feel the original pain of the inner child. 3, cognitive work, corrective experience. And 4, spiritually expanding our lifestyle by connecting and yielding and submitting to the higher power. Some pillars of childhood are like, was there anyone I mattered to? Are my parents really okay? So not knowing what we feel, need, or want, we can come back to our presence and say, I have my anger now. I'm not afraid of you anymore. My anger is here to protect me. We have permission to feel the anger that's keeping us stuck, and that is what dislodges it whether we're being rejected or not being comforted or smothered or feeling like it's killing us, not having a parent to do what they're supposed to, feeling abandoned, or like no one will be there for us, or someone is not there to take care of us, or that they invalidated us or screamed at us or didn't accept us or didn't let us matter. We can do things like make fists. We can focus on the thoughts and feelings themselves, like with our focus. We can talk to the little one, like I can talk to little Shayna. I can talk to adult Shayna as little Shayna, can talk to our parent, like not actually the physical parent, but just talk to them with ourselves. We can have a stuffed animal, and we can hit something to release anger. And recognize we were always lovable and we always mattered. When we're not trying to demonize our parents, we can see them for the wounded people that they were and demythologize them. Like they're not so much, we learn to reparent ourselves, learn the trust and boundaries all from healing and being in recovery, and stop repeating the toxic shame. We're like, I'm giving you back your pain. We're not willing to take the pain that's not our pain. And this is the way to resurrect ourselves from our soul being murdered. It's energy that got frozen because we couldn't express our fear of pain as a child that we now have access to. Have a blessed day. Bye.